Why do you try to waken memory?
I was lucky enough to be born into this family. Not only was I blessed with a big family, but also loving family members. And I was born Catholic.
Someday we'll make it on by. Other days we only can try. Either way, no matter what people say. Either way, we're gonna get.
When I was reading about the saints, and I noticed a lot of saints were like number 8, number 16 in their families. I was like, I want to raise saints, so I need a big family. We started dating, my husband and I told him, I want a dozen children. He's like, sure, I can do it.
When I was a kid, I never thought about the size of a family. I wanted to have a family, I wanted to have kids. Back then in Mexico, there was a lot of push for the government, to reduce family sizes. But I never put a number like I want to have 6 kids or 10 kids. That never crossed my mind. I was open to a family.
With 2, 3, 4 children, always we really start praying for guidance directly from God because we could not learn it from the books.
And so living in a big family, I get to experience each one of them individually, but also as a whole. When we all come together, it's so joyful and just so amazing, and there's nothing that compares to it.
Someday we'll make it on by. Other days we only can try. Either way, no matter what people say. Either way, we're gonna get better. Either way, we're gonna get better.
When I was young, I used to have a pellet rifle, and we used to go in my neighborhood. Some years ago, we decided to buy a little piece of property in Sealy, which is just outside Houston. It was 12 acres. And we decided to get some chickens, and of course some animals started eating my chickens. And that's when I started hunting, and then I decided, well, if I'm gonna do this, may as well bring one of my kids with me. So I bought a second rifle, and then we will go together.
Well, my first rifle when I was 10 years old. That's when I started, because that's when I got my hunter's license too. Even before that, I had always wanted to go hunting because I saw my older brothers going hunting, and I thought it was awesome. One of my favorite things to do is to go hunting with my dad. It's something that we've always done growing up that has really fostered my love of the outdoors and of having community with my family.
When you have 6 kids, you have to have a personal time with each one of them, and nothing like going with your dad or your kid, for 3 days all by yourself. You go, sometimes we do camping, and so we talk in the tent, we have a fire with other kids that are hunting, and then we go together and sit on a blind for 3 hours, the 2 of us. I do try to have one-on-one with each one of them, my boys and my girls, and they all like it very much.
I remember one time I got to go with my dad and my sister. Usually he would only take one of us at a time, but that time we got to be the 2 of us. And so sitting in the blind, oftentimes you won't see anything, but just experiencing nature in the company of those that you love is something that is wonderful.
It was really fun to go hunting with my dad. It's really bonding experience, You get a little camping out, you get a little sitting in the blind waiting. I think it was pretty fun.
Before we met even, I read a lot. So I started reading about children, how to raise them, how to be in a good Catholic marriage. I started learning all about marriage and family because I wanted to be prepared. I married Jose 25 years ago. We met in college and we have a long dating process. And then after 6 years, we married.
When I met her the first time, it was a physical attraction, so I saw her and I thought, she's beautiful. And then I see how she behaved, we were in a friend setting group, there were maybe 10, 15 people. We went to the movies, and the way she composed herself, you start you seeing something you think It was somebody like that to raise a family.
For me, it's very important to be an early person and someone that is like hardworking. If a boy asks me in college for a date or something, so I will tell them, okay, sure, let's go to Mass tomorrow at 7 in the morning. So I told my husband, and he came the next day to Mass at 7 in the morning.
Like I said, I was going to church. It was not something odd to me to say, go to Mass on Sunday or on any day of the week. So it didn't, I knew she was a person who cared for religion, and I cared for her, so I was gonna, follow through.
He liked the church, but he wasn't just instructed in the faith. When we started dating, we met these wonderful nuns, and they were, her mission is evangelization and mission trips. So my husband and I were really involved with them. My husband was instantly, he received the faith with open arms and ready to evangelize wherever the nuns will tell him. So I love that about him too.
When we got married, we had our first kids rather quick, and we related to a lot of families that had certain, bigger families, and we started being involved in that type of circle. And I saw how other families could be happy. When you have a bigger family, you have a lot more characters in the place, and you see how they interact with each other, and that always attracted me.
I always dream of having a girl first. Like when she was 11, having a lot of children, she will be my helper. And I had 3 boys in a row. And then I had my first girl. So the 4 of them together, 3 years later, other 2 came. It was super easy. They will help me, each one of them carry one.
They also tend to go in pairs, like the 2 oldest one will play together, and then the next 2 and such.
That was difficult because, the number. But easier in a way because you teach the first one, and then he just showed the others how to do it. So we really figured out we work great as a team.
We have 6 kids. We have all type of kids, quiet kids, noisy kids, and everything. But there was always something going on in the house. The house was cheerful, and there was a lot of joy. In all the places, the kids playing around,
Every
running around.
corner, something going on.
They love to make movies, or at least back then. So they will get a movie and they start acting up and running around the house. One chasing with the iPad, filming the movie scenes, and a lot of activity. And then eventually, it gets quieter and quieter. And now we're down to the last 2 kids, and they're in high school, so they have a lot of homework. And then they sit down and they're quiet, and then you're like, what happened? The whole thing is quiet. And you miss that activity. I'm more of a quiet person. There is a discipline needed, that will be my role. I am a firm believer that if you discipline the first, kids when they're young, they tend to behave much better. There's still issues, and usually a look at them, or maybe a raised voice takes care of it. Hardly ever, I don't remember ever passing more than, raising my voice a couple of times, and then things get done. My kids are very well behaved, so there is really hardly a need to do that.
For us, it was very important to raise a Catholic family because we didn't grow like that at the beginning in our own families. First, I prayed for a husband before I married that I could tell my children, look up to your dad or be like your dad. And I think God answered my prayers. And we showed them from the beginning that we need to go to Sunday Mass.
Sunday Mass is very important. Like I mentioned before, we go on vacations or hunting trips, or it doesn't matter, we're in another country, we'll visit family. There is always a Catholic church close by, and you don't have to suspend church because you go on vacation. On the opposite, you still have to go. Even in the smallest town of Texas or in other countries or everywhere.
Every time I go to Mass especially, and I see the Eucharist there, I remember how lucky I am. Because not only was I blessed with a big family, but also like loving family members. And I was born Catholic, which is insane because there are so many people who don't even know what Catholicism is. And that just like, every time I remember that, it's just like amazing to think about that I was lucky enough to like be born into this family.
Santa María, Madre de Dios, ruega por nosotros pecadores, ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte.
Dios te salve María, llena eres de gracia, Señor es contigo, bendita eres entre todas.
My kids really believe in the Bible, and clearly the Bible says you don't respect your parents. So all of them have a very, very higher faith than I do, for example. They like to go to church. So they always have a big desire to learn more. And always been like that since they were little. And not only that, they go the extra mile. And it's just always nice to see them that is on their own obligation that they like to go. They are not forced to go.
Ever since we were pretty young, my mom would read Catholic books and some Christian books from pretty good authors like G.K. Chesterton or C.S. Lewis. And I think just her being there reading them would give us an interest in it. So she would try to explain it to us, and then we would always get a chance to like reflect back and discuss the things that we were learning about from these great Catholic writers.
I remember reading a lot about, why do we go to Mass? What is Mass? What is the Eucharist? My parents, they directed me to where, I could find those answers for myself. I would say that a big emphasis of our faith formation was knowledge and wisdom.
I love how in depth you can go into and how you can have simple prayers that expand more intense. So like the Rosary is a very simple prayer. You say the Hail Marys, you say the Our Fathers, but then you can also go really deeply into your meditations with it. And there are many books that have been written about that. And you can also get a lot of apologetics, so you can get your intellectual brain thinking about it.
Me and my mom and my sister really like having like conversations, and we'll talk about things like our friends and stuff, and we'll talk about like, what's going on. We'll talk about, everything we did, and I can talk to them like they're friends of mine, but they still have like the parental like guidance and stuff. Neither of my parents are very strict, so we've always felt very comfortable with them. We don't feel like we need to hide anything.
It's not a force your kids to do stuff or think certain ways, but rather create the environment so that they are protected in a good way, but not force things into them, because when you force things into people, once they're free, then who knows what's going to happen. But if the kid learns and appreciate that, they carry over.
I think our parents instilled a sense of confidence and independence in us. They showed us that the world was kind of a scary place. The world was, challenging. There's nothing out there that's impossible, especially, with their support and with their guidance. I would talk to God and kind of, receive wisdom from there.
You have heard the story of the moth and the flame. What a fool I'd be to play with fire again. You didn't want me when you had me, so why do you want me now?
Throughout my marriage, I have had a lot of different hobbies that my wife has always supported, and some of them are very time-consuming. So then I decided I wanted to do woodworking. So I even built a complete kitchen from scratch. I built bookshelves, tables, and then we decided to move into a ranch. So I became a farmer. I had cows, chickens, goats. Mostly me, but they have help. So we have a few projects throughout the years. And one year they were going to do Mother's Day gifts for all their godmothers. They built them a little cutting board thing in the shape of a fish. And my daughter one time wanted to give a gift to one of her friends, so she built a little, it's called a bandsaw box. You use a bandsaw to cut your wood in certain ways. It's one piece of wood that you carve with a bandsaw to get drawers and the whole thing. So she built that with my help. And so we've done a lot of projects together.
When we came to the U.S., I didn't know about life here, so I was afraid that they would lose their religion. they will lose their language because I wanted to keep them to know Spanish. Little by little, I started learning about homeschooling, and that was a great joy because they are bilingual, and of course they're Catholic, and teach them to read.
She's very protective of the kids. She will lay her life for any of them. For the same reason, she tries to provide a good, safe environment for them, both educational-wise, but also on a moral and religious level.
But the most important part of homeschooling, I think, was teach them to learn by themselves. They love to learn, all of them, or skills, and they're very good at it, to acquire knowledge. And I love that about homeschooling.
Growing up, we were always homeschooled, and my mother, she didn't have a very strict homeschool in that we had subject after subject and break after subject and subject. But what we did do is every moment was an opportunity to learn. And every experience that you have is an opportunity to explore and to develop your skills and your passion for always increasing your knowledge. And that is something that is just amazing for me because my mom, when I was little, would always talk to me about neurons and how you could expand your knowledge and how you could learn more all of the time. And now I'm seeing that it's true, and the scientific advancements we've made have just proven that you can always learn more. And so I really want to instill in my own children this passion for learning at every step of the way, every moment of the day.
Sometimes I wake up and I do work for a bit, and I'm going to go outside and it's too dark. It's already dark.
Our children are very friendly, so they have a lot of friends, and we have family. They are our friends, but they also have a lot of children.
It's usually, like you said, have a party and then you have a couple that shows 4 or 5 kids or 6 and, different ages. So and sometimes some of them are even younger than our kids, and it's always nice to see our older kids playing with the younger kids. Like, they're not afraid to go play with the 3-year-old, 4-year-old and play hide and go seek or something.
Growing up, we always had such a good community and such good people all around us, from my friends' parents and my parents' friends that were all really good adults in my life, as well as their children and my friends who were good peers that I could have good conversations with. I could learn more about my faith. We prayed together. We explored different aspects of religion. Always still maintain this close proximity to Jesus Christ through our friendships and through our interactions, even just discussing aspects of the faith and how we individually are living out our own personal relationships with Jesus Christ after we have left our homes.
For the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Te damos gracias, Señor, por todas las bendiciones que recibimos de tu bondad. Te pedimos que no nos falte casa, vestido y sustento. Dale pan a los que tienen hambre.
Gracias a Dios que nos pan. Amén. Amén.
We were always instilling that faith in our children, like if we needed to read something, will be always through the light of faith. And I think still to this day, they see an event or they encounter different things, different people, now they're on their own, and they try to see through the eyes of their morals and their Christian faith.
To me, it's obviously when your kids are born, and every time they do a milestone, you can see the love of God in that, because the love of God is to create a family. And every event where they achieve something, the support that God gives to this family, and seeing what they can do. You see your kid as a gift of God, and you see what the gift can do. The joy that it brings to your life.
I think God is always calling you to do the next thing. There is a vocation, but the calling is continuous. Like when we married, we were called to marriage life, and then we were called to have children, and then we were called to have a big family. The meaning in every day is to give glory to God. So we were 2, now we're 8. And when they start having their own family, we can pass it along to our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, maybe a whole city.
We are the Morales-Wade family, and we're joyfully big!